What's up everybody, it's Peach Booty here again with another video in my new series, Ass Analysis, where I take a video game character and I talk about their ass. Completely unscripted, just my opinions and personal experiences with said ass. And speaking of experience, we have the one and only Rainbow Mika from Street Fighter, otherwise R Mika for short. So Mika was actually the first character I think I ever saw use a butt attack in video games, and that was kind of the start of my own obsession of using female characters with a weapon of ass destruction, if you will. Pretty much every fighting game after that, if a character used her butt to attack, and nowadays it's almost every series has at least one, that character is going to be my main, obviously. So she had multiple different butt attacks, some of them kind of look the same. So when it comes to Alpha 3, she had the flying Peach, she had the shooting Peach, which the only differences were basically with one of them she would spin beforehand, and the other one she would land kind of butt first and rub her butt afterwards. So it was like a startup versus a cooldown kind of thing. But then she had the air throw where she landed her fat ass right on the opponent's face from the air, but they kind of changed that in Street Fighter V, where she had another air throw in Alpha 3, the wingless airplane, which was more of like a Hurricane Rana, kind of like a head scissors in the air, where they changed it, kind of combined the two in Street Fighter V, but still called it wingless airplane, where she just jumps, flips in the air, catches an aerial opponent, and then once again lands her fat ass on their face. And then obviously you have the best one, right? The aptly named Peach Assault with her partner Nadeshko in Street Fighter V. I mean, you got Peach and you got ass in the title. And when I saw that trailer, oh man, I was so hyped. Like, I was actually working at Activision at the time. I did some QA testing for Black Ops 3, and again, there was a day shift and a night shift, and I was on day shift at the time. And there was quite a few people that were fighting game players, and they had their own, arcade sticks and stuff like that. I always only used controller. I played a lot of fighting games, but I was always more on the casual side. But I remember during one of our breaks, I looked up, I want to say it was like Event Hubs or some sort of fighting game website, and I ended up seeing the article of when she was released, like within an hour of when it came out, and I saw that trailer, and damn, like, I didn't know what to think of the partner situation, but I didn't really care, because the double butt sandwich and all the butt attacks and the butt focus and the butt slap, which obviously got censored, but I'll talk about the downfall of Street Fighter V a little bit later. Let's just focus on R Mika's ass. So I kind of have this headcanon thing where I feel like R Mika kind of like trained some of the other characters. Like Peach is a perfect example, because Melee came out shortly after Alpha 3, and then obviously all the Peach names in R Mika's moveset, I always kind of looked at Peach being trained by R Mika, to have a moveset in Smash Bros. I always thought that was kind of an interesting headcanon, and I've seen other people use it as well. And then after that, there was like Sophia and Cassandra and Soul Calibur, and I don't necessarily think of them like all being trained by R Mika, but like I said, R Mika was kind of the first one. And before I get into the Street Fighter V stuff, let's just talk about the ass itself, and not just the attacks that she uses with it and the fact that it's her main weapon. But R Mika's obviously one of the biggest asses, right? Like, I refer to her as like a heavyweight because it's all in the ass when it comes to wrestling. And I would say the one thing that she's missing, right? She's essentially butt attacked the character. That's what I've called her before. But I think the one attack that's missing, or not attack, but the one thing that's missing is she doesn't have, I want to say maybe like the sass, or like the classy, sassy. She's got a lot of the ass, but not necessarily the sass or the class. And what I mean by that is a perfect example would be like a Anna Williams from Tekken. The sassy little like hip check, booty bump while winking. Daisy and Peach kind of do the same. Mika's a little bit closer to Daisy, a little bit more like the tomboy-esque. But I think when people say that Mika's not sexy, I think that's kind of what they're referring to. But then again, the sexiest thing to me is the whole using ass as a weapon. So it's kind of a weird thing when it comes to Mika, and that's maybe why I kind of consider Daisy and Peach above our Mika, and once again I'm biased towards Nintendo. But again, she has a huge butt. She clearly shows it off. She like taunts with it, but again, there's just a slight difference between that and again like an Anna Williams type. And I still like our Mika more than Anna, but if she just had, I don't know, it's kind of hard to really like fit that in with her character, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So then you obviously have kind of the downfall of Street Fighter V, right? Obviously with our Mika you had the censorship thing in the beta where people, again, it looked so bad that people thought it was a glitch at first, like, oh, she's close to the wall and it didn't zoom in properly, because they just did the lazy change of like raising the camera slightly up, which was so dumb. They did the same thing with Miranda in Mass Effect. Oh, let's change it to a more fitting, more tasteful angle, and then all they do is just cut it off just enough so you can't see the butt. So dumb, so lazy. Kind of defeats the purpose in my opinion, but the fact that they just got rid of the butt shot, especially when Street Fighter V has a lot of other butt shots, so it was just weird. I know they kind of did the same thing with Cammy, but I mean, she's a wrestler, she's taunting, she's slapping her ass before they literally do a double butt sandwich attack. Like, come on. And then Ono, I remember later said, I addressed this in my history of booty video on our Mika, but he's just kind of like, oh, well, we kind of thought maybe people would be offended, so we didn't do it. Like, they like self-censored it. Like, what the heck? That was pretty bad. But then Street Fighter V just had a really shitty launch in general. Like, they gave us the fan servicey characters, not just fan service as far as ass, but just like the characters a lot of people wanted. Like, they had Karen and obviously our Mika like right away in the starting roster, and they gave us like Alex right away too. And just characters a lot of people wanted back in Street Fighter. But it was a small roster. None of the like online statistics worked. The online barely worked. There was no story. And then that kind of overshadowed the fact that the gameplay wasn't the greatest either. So it's disappointing. Like, I would rather have our Mika in something like Street Fighter 6 where I don't have a character that I use very well, but it's a very good game. So I think that's pretty much everything when it comes to Street Fighter V. Outside of the fact that, like I've mentioned plenty of times, Street Fighter V, almost all the females had giant asses, and our Mika's still had the biggest one. So gotta give her props for that. And her butt would probably be bigger than Cammy's in Street Fighter 6 as well. Obviously, we have yet to see that. So I think that's pretty much everything. Again, but just the one negative I have is that little classal sass kind of thing that I like. Tight dress, the winking, the kind of playfulness like that. But again, huge ass, great outfits, great style, got the whole wrestler thing, and again, she's essentially butt attack the character. So that's pretty much my ass analysis on our Mika. And otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one.